The palace was not silent in the way of peace. It was silent in the way of grief, when every sound feels like a trespass. Princess Nouronnihar lay upon her silken bed, her breaths shallow and uneven, her face pale against the cushions of gold-threaded velvet. The courtiers stood at a distance, afraid to move, while the physicians whispered their defeat. She was fading, and nothing in all the empire seemed capable of saving her. In the adjoining hall, 3 princes, her cousins, the very heirs of the kingdom, stood locked in a silence as heavy as stone. They were bound by blood and love, but also by rivalry. For each of them loved Nouronnihar in a way that words could not capture, and the thought of her death threatened not only their hearts but the future of the realm. It was the eldest, Prince Hausen, who finally broke the silence. His voice trembled though he tried to steady it. "If no cure exists here," he said, "then we must go where hope still breathes. Even if it lies at the end of the earth." The younger princes, Ali and Ahmed, lifted their heads. Their eyes were weary, but behind them burned the same fierce determination. All 3 would set out into the unknown to seek what the empire could not provide, a miracle for Princess Nouronnihar. And so began a journey that would test not their swords or their strength, but the very core of their souls. The journeys. Prince Hausen. Hausen, eldest and most cautious, carried the weight of duty like a crown too heavy for his head. He traveled east, across deserts that shimmered like molten glass. His companions abandoned him, one by one, until only his horse remained faithful. It was in the city of Samarkand that he discovered a relic in a marketplace stall, a carpet said to fly wheresoever one's heart desired. The merchant's eyes glowed with greed as he demanded a price beyond reason. Hausen, torn between wisdom and desperation, parted with nearly all his wealth. As he tested the carpet, rising above the city like a bird released from its cage, a sob escaped him, not of joy, but of longing. He thought of Nouronnihar's smile, how it once carried the promise of dawn. Could a piece of woven fabric truly deliver her from death? He did not know. But it was hope, and hope was more precious than gold. Prince Ali. Ali was brave, impulsive, and often reckless. His journey took him north, where mountains pierced the heavens and storms clawed at the peaks. In a hidden valley, he stumbled upon a polished ivory tube, a telescope unlike any other. The sage who owned it claimed it could see through distance and even reveal truths beyond sight. Ali lifted the telescope to his eye and nearly dropped it. For in that instant, the glass revealed Nouronnihar upon her bed, her lips pale, her chest rising faintly. Every moment of her struggle played before him as if he stood by her side. The prince's heart broke anew with every vision, yet he could not look away. "I will not fail you," he swore, clenching the telescope tight. But he wondered, even as he rode back with the relic, whether knowledge of suffering was a gift or a curse. Prince Ahmed. Ahmed, the youngest, was gentle and often overlooked. He journeyed west, to lands where the air smelled of sea salt and the markets rang with 100 tongues. In a dim apothecary, he found a merchant who spoke of a small golden apple, no larger than a man's fist, which could cure any illness with but a breath of its fragrance. Ahmed doubted such a thing could exist. Yet when the merchant unwrapped the apple and the faintest perfume drifted through the room, he felt his weariness lift, his lungs open as though he had never breathed properly before. With trembling hands, he bought it, knowing he carried not just an object but perhaps the fate of his beloved cousin. But along with hope came fear. What if this apple, too, proved nothing more than a trick of desperate men? The reunion. Months later, the princes returned to the palace. Nouronnihar had worsened, the court had already begun mourning her. The 3 rushed to her chamber, each eager to present his treasure. Yet pride and rivalry simmered beneath their grief. Ali raised his telescope first. Through its glass they saw Nouronnihar's chest falter, her pulse fade. "She is dying now," Ali cried. Without hesitation, Hausen unrolled his carpet. "Then we must not waste a breath," he said. In the blink of an eye, the princes soared above the empire, the palace shrinking beneath them, until they alighted in the princess's chamber. Ahmed stepped forward with the apple. His hands shook as he brought it to Nouronihar's lips. A sweet fragrance filled the room. Slowly, impossibly, her color returned. Her breaths deepened. Her eyes fluttered open, shimmering with confusion before softening into recognition. She was alive. The chamber erupted with cries of joy. But joy quickly soured, for a question hung unspoken in the air: who had truly saved her? The conflict. The king summoned the princes before the court. Each, in turn, defended his claim. Hausen spoke first. Without the carpet, we would never have reached her in time. My sacrifice carried us to her side. Ali countered. But it was my telescope that revealed her peril at that very moment. Without it, we would not have known she was dying. Ahmed bowed his head, then lifted it with quiet resolve. And yet, without the apple, no cure could be found. She breathes today because of what I carried. The court murmured, divided. The king's face was carved of stone, unreadable. Nouronnihar herself sat in silence, her hands clasped tightly in her lap, her eyes glistening with a storm of unspoken emotions. Nouronihar's choice. That night, Nouronnihar walked alone in the palace gardens. She had been given life again, yet she felt burdened by it. 3 men had risked everything for her, each guided by love but also by pride. And now, the kingdom looked to her for a decision: whom would she choose as husband, and thus future ruler? Her heart was torn. Hausen had shown sacrifice, Ali had shown courage, Ahmed had shown compassion. Yet in each she also saw shadows: ambition, recklessness, insecurity. What was she to do? As she wandered beneath the moonlight, she overheard the brothers quarreling in the courtyard. Their words, sharp as blades, pierced her. They spoke not of her joy or her safety, but of their own rights, their own triumphs. It was then that a clarity struck her like lightning: if love turned so swiftly into rivalry, was it love at all? The twist. At the next council, the king demanded her choice. The court held its breath. Nouronnihar stood, her gaze steady though her voice quivered. My lords, she said, you ask me to choose among my cousins, who together saved my life. Yet I cannot give my heart to one, for in truth I owe it to all. What binds me to you is not love but gratitude. And gratitude cannot be the foundation of marriage. A murmur rippled through the hall. The princes froze, their faces stricken. Nouronnihar continued, if you truly loved me, you would not make me the prize of your contest. You would rejoice that I live, and let me live free. The silence that followed was not of grief this time, but of revelation. The princes lowered their heads, shamed by her words. Conclusion: the unwritten future. In the weeks that followed, the kingdom shifted. The brothers, once rivals, began to see each other not as competitors but as fragments of a whole. They had together saved Nouronnihar, and together they would protect the realm. As for the princess, she did not choose a husband then. Instead, she devoted herself to rebuilding what illness had stolen. She walked again among the people, bringing with her not just beauty but wisdom born of suffering.